So welcome to our second Discord stage event here on the Gensokyo Radio Discord server. I am Lunar. We're going to go through introductions. So I'm Lunar, and I am the station manager for Gensokyo Radio. I do a little bit of everything here on the station. I do web development. I host our live shows that we do that are separate from these stage events. They're a little more complex than these events because it involves balancing audio levels and creating a playlist and all this other stuff. Sort of the audio engineer during those events as well. And basically with the station, if something breaks, I am kind of the one who ends up fixing it. So, and I know that a lot of you folks are familiar with who we are and what we do and such, but this is a public stage event, and we're going to just do our intros, get that out of the way. And before I turn it over to the next person here, I do want to just remind everyone that we are excited to partner with Discord to showcase the new Discord Stages feature that rolled out just fairly recently still. And so thanks to the folks over at Discord for the opportunity. Nano, go ahead, and who are you?
Yes, it is me, your boy, Nano. I help out with the station where needed, kind of give feedback and thoughts. I do a lot of the artwork stuff now, working on designs and some hopefully cool t-shirt stuff that might be in the near future. I help co-host. Really not else to say. I'm around. I'm going to hand it over to DM Gent 654.
Yo, DM Gent, that sounds nice. Hi, I'm DMJ654. I'm a radio personality here at Gensokyo Radio and co-host primarily. And typically I'm just here, giving off good vibes and making sure the skeletons don't attack. So I'm going to pass it off to Xara here.
Very important role.
DMJ, there is a skeleton inside you right now, didn't you know?
I do know that there's a skeleton inside me, and he is vibrating with excitement and outrage, and I have to keep him inside. Magical amulet around my neck currently right now.
Trying to you were going to keep him contained this whole time, huh?
Yep.
It's a pretty daunting task.
Yes. Yes, hello. I am Xara. I am the library manager. It basically just means I have a giant Touhou music library, and if Lunar wants something, he gets something. I listen to music and troll around.
Your explanation gets more simple every time.
Eventually,
it's just like, yeah, I have music. That's about it. It's
simply I exist.
By the end of this,
I want it to be at the end, just like, Lunar, I have too many CDs, please. That's just going to be the description.
Basically. Cool. So for those folks not in the know, we're going to briefly explain, because we did a whole stage event last month talking about just us and what the station is and what we do and what we've been doing for the last 10 years that we've been around. But we're going to briefly explain what this station is, what it plays, who runs it, and then we're going to get straight into some of our discussion. It's going to be a conversation, really. It's going to feel a lot more casual than our first event, because our first event was more of a panel, and this one's more sort of a discussion. And there's definitely a Q&A element to it. We're going to kind of go through, we'll start up by kind of talking about how we met each other, particularly our in-person meetups, because we've all met each other at some point, which is great. We've had, the last 10 years or something, there's been multiple different events to do that at, so that's kind of how that happened. But there's this Q&A section. It's kind of questions from the staff to the staff. This will kind of serve as, hopefully, some inspiration for what you guys might be able to ask. And then after we get through that section, we'll open it up to any questions from the audience. And if there aren't any questions, we're going to dive into stories from the past years. There's some interesting stuff that's happened, At some point, some folks have gotten stuck in an elevator, for example. It's just one of the things on our list, but we won't get to that until later. So, all right, so what is this thing? Gensokyo Radio, you are here. Gensokyo Radio is a 24/7 internet radio station that plays fan-made arrangements from the Touhou Project video game series. And we have a couple of studios in St. Paul and Louisville, Kentucky. St. Paul, Minnesota, and Louisville, Kentucky. That's kind of a loose term because it basically just means anywhere we're able to do our live broadcasts from. That is what we call a studio. If you want a more complete description of what our station is, we encourage you to go listen to our first Discord stage event that is actually available right now, although listen to it later, please. You can listen to it whenever at gensokyo.net/shows, and the Discord stage events will be listed up over there, including this one about a week from now. So,
yeah, doesn't our database server have like a giant maple leaf emblazoned on the front?
yeah, it is somewhere in Canada. So,
Somewhere in Canada.
yeah. As for who runs this thing, it's currently it is the four of us. So we are the active staff on the station right now, but we have had folks join us in the past as well. We've had a couple of different library managers. We've had someone who helped us with promotion. We have someone who was getting into voice acting when he first joined, but has since left us and is a full-time professional voice actor doing dubs for various video games and anime dubs and stuff like that. His name is Sean Chiplock, if you're interested. So yeah, it's kind of it. You know, it's a small team, but it's also a relatively small radio station. So, and I know that we've got plenty of other folks joining. Just to remind you guys, we'll do sort of our first meetups, our staff-to-staff Q&A, and then we'll open it up to folks who have questions after that. We hope that this Q&A section of, you know, kind of questions to and from the staff will inspire you guys to hopefully write down some things, and we'll get to answering those after that. So, all right. So this next section here is literally just first meetups, I guess, because I'll just go first, and hopefully the others will kind of take after my lead. So I've met all of you at some point. We've all met each other at some point, and I think I gotta think who have I met first? I'm not sure if it was DMJ or Nano.
What year was DMJ?
Oh, yeah, no, it was definitely DMJ, because Nano was like 2015 or something.
Yes, I was 2015 Touhou Con.
Yeah, so Southern California, basically all of these, you know, the times that we met each other, I think, are probably at some sort of conference or convention. So at Nano in 2015 was interesting. So when I met Nano, I think how these all went is we kind of contacted each other, you know, whether it was Discord in the early days or maybe Skype before that, and you're just trying to get in touch, right? I think at some point we just exchanged numbers and texted each other. I remember trying to find Nano. I was at the airport, and, you know, we both just landed relatively recently, and looking for him, and it's like, you know, this is Southern California. It's a summer day. What was it, like August, September, something like that. So it's pretty warm. I remember he got up to 100 degrees that weekend. And when I finally find Nano, he is wearing a big puffy vest, like in 90 plus degree weather. So, I mean, if nothing else, it made him easy to spot in a crowd, I guess, even though I found him in, I'm pretty sure, a parking lot or like an airport loading area or something. So, yeah, I don't know if it's...
Yep.
And then...
despite the hot weather, I believe it or not, I kind of grew up in Southern California for a bit. So, like, being even just mild clothes, like 90 degree weather, wasn't super intimidating. But I think we'll get onto that part a little bit later.
Yeah, there's... cool. And then I remember DMJ, I met him, would have been in Boston at a convention, Anime Boston, and was it 2013, I think?
It was roughly around that time. No. Yeah.
Well,
yes.
Because it wasn't 2012, and I think 2014 would have been too late.
Hold on, wait a minute. When was the year that Zun came to AWA?
2013.
So
it would have been after that.
So it would be 2014.
Maybe it was. Yeah,
it would be that. It would be the following year.
I guess. Yeah, it would have been 2014, because at that point you would have been able to talk to the person who runs the game setup. You would have been able to, you already had met him, and that would have been the previous year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I would.
So so 2014 then. So a year before Nano, and we let's see. It was actually, I think I ended up setting up so we had to. We coordinated, ended up getting figuring out a couple of hotel rooms for our larger group for that convention. And I remember it was Imurak, one of our past library managers, ended up meeting up with him first. He's since no longer part of our team, but then it was DMJ and company, and you guys had road tripped up north from somewhere Kentucky or Ohio or something.
Yeah. We went. Yeah.
That's very
I'm trying to remember. It's so long.
Yeah. I mean, it was a while ago. But yeah, and that first year was interesting because the game setup, like these days, it's interesting if you fast forward to, in a regular year where we're able to attend conventions regularly. The game setup in 2014 that we're talking about was basically so there's a couple of folks at that specific convention and other conventions along the East Coast who bring along computer systems to set them up at a convention, and they have the Touhou Project series of games. They're mostly curtain fire games that you can play if you haven't seen them or if you just want to try them out or whatever. They're available there at that convention. And I remember, so in 2014, that setup was 6. Do you remember how many computers were set up at, I think this would have been 2019, the most recent time we were there?
It was roughly 16.
Yeah. So they've grown, and it can't actually get much larger than that number because of power requirements. The setup takes up so much power.
I think the one year we did 18. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think that was back when the back wall was open.
Okay.
Unlimited power.
It's that the setup is in a very large ballroom. It's in the arcade, so there's a lot of arcade cabinets, and other people get in there to do their own setups as well. And this is just one part of that room. So most of my interactions with DMJ, offline, have been at conventions, particularly that one in Boston. And since that first meeting, we've actually become sort of part of the helper crew for that game setup, and we end up being associate staff for the convention itself, which is pretty awesome.
We know those systems so intimately to the point. I'm still blown away about that GPU setup that we set up on that one PC where it was literally just hanging out by a Ryzen. It was just like, it was literally just like a GPU hanging out with a riser cable and just sitting on an anti-static bag on a cloth table.
That's how you do that, right?
It's okay. We got the anti-static bag. We're good.
Yeah, it's like the anti-static bag's fine.
It doesn't work if you don't turn it inside out, right? That's how that works.
That's what I was saying. I was thinking to myself, like, wait, doesn't that bag need to be inside out?
Yeah.
But we were already like halfway through, so we're just like, let it ride.
Yeah, who actually knows? I don't think that's how that works. And then Xara, at some point I probably met you earlier, like before you were part of the staff. In fact, I know that's true, but I don't actually remember how long it took before that moment where I ended up asking, "Hey, by the way, you want to be a staff member?"
I don't remember. I've lived in Boston for like all my life, and I've been going to Anime Boston for as long as I can remember, and that's where you first saw me. It was definitely before any of the staff stuff.
Yeah, there was you and Fanzy and a couple of other folks over there that we kind of became acquainted with beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, cool. That was my meeting you guys. The handshake thing where it's like, I talk about the 3 people and then Nano maybe can talk about the 2 people aside him.
Sorry, I didn't hit unmute quick enough.
Like even for me, it'd be interesting just seeing these other perspectives.
So let's see. I met DMJ and Xara for the first time at Anime Boston in a year I don't remember. I want to say it's like 2016 or 2017.
The Boston conventions, they sort of like blend together after a while.
Yeah, they blur.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, 2016, 2017.
I'll look it up for you.
It's one of those years. I don't think it was 20. I'm pretty sure it was one of those 2 years. pretty confident. I'm 85% confident. Apart from that, our trip to Japan was I met Lunar and Xara there for my 2-week stay. I'm trying to think of any times I've interacted with DMJ apart from Anime Boston. I think it's been the Anime Boston trip is where I'm interacting. I think that's the limit.
That would have been 2016, by the way.
Okay, yeah, it was the year after TohoCon. All right, cool. Let me think. I'm trying. I feel like there might be one more thing, but I need to jostle my memory a little bit. So I'm going to pass that one off to DMJ on the list. See if what he remembers of the interactions. I'm going to pass it off right now.
I really remember the interactions when I first met. I remember meeting Lunar, and that was awesome, and that was a lot of fun. And I remember like being like, "Oh, it's you," and we were all like, "Finally, face to the name." I remember that, but I remember specifically meeting Nano for the first time, and we were we hung out the whole con, and then at one point, and I can't remember if this might have been the first meeting. It might have not, but Nano was passed out on the ground for like a good chunk of like a day.
Yeah, that's because okay, now my memory is coming back, right? Because I was on.
Again?
No, I didn't actually drink on that trip.
No, he didn't. This was just him being so incredibly tired.
Jet lag.
He literally.
So what happened was, right? Because I worked. I think I was still on a grave shift.
Yeah, you were grave shifting at that time. I remember that because we were both like, yeah, vampires, night crew.
And yeah, so I get there, right? And I did the thing where I think I basically stayed up the entire time and landed, and I tried to get through the day, and I didn't at all do any preface on my sleep schedule. Like I literally went, I think I got off work the morning prior, maybe tried to sleep a little, went all night on the plane, got there, and I just tried to power through. And that don't actually do this. It is not fun. It may be kind of euphoric and lightheaded for like the first little bit, but there's a point where you just like your body's like, all right, well, we're just gonna find a nice. You know what? It doesn't have to be a nice patch on the ground. As long as there's no one there on the ground, it'll work.
It just has to be empty. That's the requirement.
It just has to be empty. It just has to be vacant.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So then meeting Xara for the first time, I remember the first time we met, we got stuck in an elevator.
That was great.
Well, it wasn't the first time you met. Come on. You guys knew each other before that.
Was it? Did we? I remember. I'm trying to remember.
You mean you might have gotten to know each other during the elevator thing, but
yeah, right. But yeah, I remember this very. It was a very nice experience. I remember being like, "Oh, finally a local, somebody who could actually point me to chowder."
Yeah,
chowder.
I need to find the good stuff.
We found the good stuff.
Yeah, we found the good stuff. I remember specifically when I found stuff, not the good stuff, and I got chastised for it.
Oh,
because it's like that's
the real stuff.
He's like, you didn't get the good stuff.
Sweet. All right. Cool. Well, I think that wraps that section up. Next up, we've got our questions and answers. This is from the staff to the staff. After this section, we'll be accepting any raised hands, any questions from the audience, and we'll do that. And if there aren't any, then we've got story time afterwards. So I guess we'll dive into this. We'll go in order the way it is on the document here. I think this ends up giving people sort of a variety of folks talking. So, all right. So I get to ask my questions first because I'm at the top of the list. So
yes,
Nano. Hope you're ready to talk. For those of you who don't know, Nano does artwork. He started doing artwork some time ago. Maybe he'll be able to fill in that detail. He's done some artwork for a bunch of folks. He's done at least one of our handout artwork pieces, and he has done a couple of shirts. He's actually doing a couple more shirts that we haven't officially announced yet, so actually stick around for that if you're curious. But my first question to Nano is, what made you want to get into doing art in the first place?
Well, to go back to the slightly previous question, it was like around 2014 7, 8, 9, yeah, 2014. I want to say 2014 was the year I kind of started getting into, or end of 2013, one of those dates. I have to go like when my first uploads were. But what started me getting into art? Oh boy, this is the existential crisis question, isn't it? Like, I think there was either I don't know if there was a specific catalyst for it. It might have been kind of a New Year's resolution thing or a birthday's resolution thing, where I thought to myself, because like all I kind of like during that time, I just kind of went from thing to thing, doing whatever, learning how to do a little bit here, a little bit there, programming, like database management, a bunch of IT stuff. And it occurred to me that like I really want to do something that's a bit more creative that just wasn't like purely needed for employment, and like something that I can develop like super long term, right? Not just like, hey, I'm going to learn something for a little bit, then move on to something else. And so I picked art just like as an impulsive creative hobby. Felt like something that like I wanted to do. I had some kind of experience, but like when I say experience, that's one of those air quotes in high school or middle school. I was in that sort of creative art class where they just put you in a room for 35 minutes, right? And so like it was, I wanted to stop myself from asking a question of, if I started 5 years ago, where would I be now? And I figured if I start drawing now, I can answer that question in 5 years. And that's kind of the reason why I do it. It's purely like a purpose driven to find out how far I can take something. And it's entirely on me and not someone else to sort of judge on that progress. So it's very much a self-driven, I do it just to see where I can take it. And it helps me, it's kind of therapeutic in that sense. It helps prove to myself I can advance and learn and take new skills on on my own. So that's the deep, darker side of the reasoning that I got.
I think that's a good reason.
Yeah.
And then the other one, which I alluded to earlier, but you know, when I met Nano, he was wearing a vest, and that's not the only time he's worn. And like, don't think like a light vest either. I mean, this is like, if you were wearing a winter jacket, this would have sleeves, but just get rid of the sleeves and it's just the vest part. That's what I'm talking about. This big poofy vest. Like, I just want to ask why? Why the vest? And yeah.
Because I have multiple vests. There is some minor, multiple. I think it's only 2 right now. Because I haven't had to go outside as much. But I like to have pockets that zip up, put my phone in, put valuable things in that I might have to carry if I'm on the road. Jackets can be cumbersome. They can be
sleeves,
not.
They're so cumbersome.
Yes, it is. Sleeves get caught in a lot more than you realize. But the vest is easier to lock down, so I prefer to wear the vest.
Right.
It has the internal pockets, the outside pockets. I could put things in it. I can take it off and store it a bit easier than I can a jacket. If I needed to stay extra warm, I could put a long sleeve shirt under the vest. If I don't need to, I can just stay short sleeved. Allows to vent. Easy peasy.
All right.
Hearing that you should just get a chest rig.
Yeah, I was going to comment on some of your other fashion-related decisions. Like, for example, I ended up seeing a lot more of this while we were in Japan, because that was a couple of weeks or something that you were there. But you know, I don't know, your sense of fashion is great, because you're always wearing a short sleeve polo shirt, usually shorts.
Yeah.
I don't think you had a single pair of white socks, so you were always wearing shorts with black socks.
Yeah,
like
I always wear black socks. It's just the nature
these were
of
just
work.
Things I noticed along the way.
I haven't bought new white socks in a very long time. It's always black socks.
All right, cool. We'll move on to DMJ. Hope you're ready.
Oh, okay.
So DMJ, he is, aside from doing the things that he mentioned during our intro segment, he is also historically our music reviewer, and is pretty obvious to anyone who's been around for long enough that DMJ is somewhat of a metalhead. So, in fact, that's probably what the M in your name stands for, is metal. So, that's metal music. So, I just want to ask, how did you initially get into metal music, and how is that translated into your preferences in the music that our radio station plays?
And this is actually a really interesting question, because I don't think anybody's ever asked me this question.
Well,
So
this is the place.
where I was coming from, I was moving from northeastern Ohio down to Kentucky for when I was about. It was about. When was it? I want to say it was around like 2004 ish. And at around the time, I was really into like hip hop and stuff. I was like really deep into it. I was also coming from like a private school into public school. But right before I left, I was really big into classic rock at the time. And I was really into like old school stuff. I was really into like really into Van Halen. And I remember going to my first Van Halen concert but like a month before I moved away with one of my best friends at the time. And then when I came down here, I was kind of like still kind of into the hip hop stuff, but I started rolling with the scene, which kind of like, they were just like, dude, you need to check this out. And they like showed me Disturbed, Korn, like a lot of the old, like new metal stuff that was going on at the time. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then I just leaned heavy into it. Around the time I was in high school, that's when I started getting into a lot more extreme stuff. Getting into a lot more like Dimmu Borgir, Behemoth. Trying to remember who else. I was also with thrash. I was like into thrash too. So I was like the big three. I was into Exodus, Lazarus AD. I have that CD sitting here. That was a short-lived band, but that was like, you know, an attempt to bring back old 80s thrash metal. Oh, that was so good. Like I was really into that stuff. And it was kind of like my thing for a while. And then I started like through metal, I've been kind of like experimenting with other sounds, and eventually it just became I'll listen to absolutely anything on earth, just as long as it's not country music, because it all sucks.
No,
I haven't found a good country song in a long time.
We're gonna lose people because you said that.
Oh well.
Anyway, cool.
But how that translates to my preferences on the music station plays, I absolutely think, and I think this is just me coming from like a perspective of a vocalist, because I did do choir for the longest time, because I really enjoy the extreme vocals. And the station doesn't play the extreme vocals a lot. Every once in a while I hear one song from Seated with Liquor, and that just makes me, I think it's Stay By My Side, and it is just, it's so good to hear. But like there are so many good tracks out there, and it seems like a lot of the music scene now is kind of shifting away from extreme vocals, or at least using extreme vocals in very creative ways to either tell stories or do something. My personal favorite is like a dialogue between two characters. I love that kind of stuff, and I really hope that more Touhou music starts adopting that, so that we can I can still look at that and maybe be like, hey, Lunar, please put this on. I know it's got screaming, but it has a really good message, and it's so nice.
Right, yeah. Okay, well, that's... And
I can already answer your second question to this.
Which I have to ask because they haven't heard it.
Yeah.
But so ever since I met DMJ, he's had varying degrees of hair length, mostly long, just long hair. It's one of the things where if I picture DMJ, he's got like, you know, around shoulder length hair, you know, around there. But how long is that? How long has that been a thing? Like, tell me.
Hold on 1 second. First off, it's well beyond that now.
Well, I don't know that.
We're almost down to maybe past mid back.
Oh gosh, okay.
Here we go.
So how long have I had long hair? As long as I've been in the metal scene. So roughly around 2006. That was when I was like, I'm going to try to keep my hair long as possible. And my parents kept saying no. So like I would try to grow it out, and then I would be taken to get my hair cut.
Forcibly.
Yeah, forcibly, or like they would like take me into the kitchen and shave my head.
Huh.
So it was around, I want to say it was like around my 17th birthday, my dad just gave up. Like he knew he was a losing battle. I think it was the last like haircut that I was kind of like forced to have was my graduation. And then after that, it was just like,
okay.
I've never went to go get my hair cut. I've got it trimmed. I've never actually had it like changed from long.
Like shortened significantly.
Nope.
Interesting. All right. Dang. Well, that seems like a long time. Like for you, it probably seems like it's probably, it's just kind of been that way forever, practically.
I can't actually imagine myself with, like, I look at pictures of myself with short hair and I'm just like,
Who is that person?
Who is that?
You're not me.
That's not me.
You're not the real DMJ.
All right. Cool. And finally, I get to Xara.
Hello.
So, hello. You recently moved from Boston to Kentucky, and this is just one of those things where I don't think anyone's asked, and I don't know if you are even willing to share, but how logistically, like in terms of, I don't know, having a job or whatever, like did you change jobs? Did you work remotely? Like how did you just manage to make that transition? Because it just kind of happened.
It comes from not having a lot of like life responsibilities, really. I just had a job and I needed to figure something out to do with my life. So I was working retail for like 3+ years. It's not anything major. It's nothing to brag about. So it was very easy for me to just one day say, okay, I have enough to leave. I'm out. Let's go. I now do, you could say I now do freelance web design, but I'm more of like a roving problem solver. I hit up businesses, see what they need, and then see what I have in my toolbox that can fix them.
I'm surrounded by people who know how to code, and I took 1 semester of C# and didn't do well.
Oh. Well, I guess you have
I still have the books, though.
Yeah.
I still have the books, though, and I want to get back into it eventually.
It's something anyone can learn. I took a couple of classes in it in school, but I was always a terrible student, so I never really learned much in school. Most of my coding experience was after I had moved.
So I gotta go get my C# and C++ books out and maybe crack them open again. I still have those.
And you have folks around you that might be able to help.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And the last question for me before we move on to Nano is, Xara has a unique car. This sort of just came to light one day. I think it was like he was driving from, I don't know, somewhere along the East Coast, and you ended up going through a bunch of toll booths. And every time you got to a toll booth, you'd have to like switch sides or get out of the car or something because your car has the steering wheel on the right side, not the left, like the majority of U.S. automobiles.
Okay, so here's how do I start this? So I'm looking for, at some point I got the money to start searching for a car, and well, not a new car, I don't have that kind of money, but I was searching for a car, and the one thing I noticed about the great majority of U.S. American used dealers is that they're kind of shoddy. Like a lot of them, you have no idea what happened to them, and there's like no telling what any car went through. So eventually, I just threw my hands up and said, "Screw it! I'm gonna go look for a Japanese import because Japanese people take really good care of their stuff." And here's how the import laws work: there's a giant, like 5,000-page rule book of all the things a car needs to do. All the regulations a car needs to abide by in order to be legally sold in the US. But once that car is 25 years old, the entire book gets thrown out. You're good. So I went to a...
I know where this is going.
Oh boy.
So I went to a used Japanese auto dealer and found a 25-year-old imported car that Japanese people, again, take very good care of their stuff. So the age actually didn't matter. It's just like it was pretty much new, and it is a Toyota, so it will last for many, many years onward. Good deal as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow.
Oh,
Was how difficult was it to like actually get the car from A to B? I'm sorry, this is the third question, but I have to know.
From A to B. So as far as the importing goes, the importer, the dealer themselves, there are a lot of importers that do all the work, but you have to do your research and figure out like who is actually legit. There are a lot of shady importers out there. You got to do your homework. But a good importer will do all the paperwork for you, get the car over here, and then you can go to the lot and check it out, and they'll have all of the importation will already be done. and you can just go pick out something you like, test drive it, come back, and buy the car like any other used dealer.
Fair enough.
And I just drove it back up to Boston.
Man, that's something else. That's a cool story. Like when we first heard about that, we were like, wait, what are you doing? Why did you drive that? Like, how did this happen? Anyway,
less painful than like scouring 1,000 American used car lots to find one that isn't like completely rusted out.
Right. Yeah. Okay, Nano, you awake?
Yes,
We got.
I am awake.
You are up, good sir.
All right. Should I do this to each person at a time, or?
However you want. It's that
However you
section.
wanna do
It
it.
is yours to do with what you will.
All right. Because I have. All right. You know these. Okay. So let's start with. I'll do a cheeky one to Xara first. What's your favorite attack helicopter? I'll give some context to this after, but.
Did I ever talk about identifying as an attack helicopter?
Maybe. But what is your favorite attack helicopter?
Honestly, probably the KA-50, just because the coaxial rotors, like the two rotors on top of each other, are really cool.
Yeah, that is a very distinctive feature of the helicopter, and I guess that chain of helicopters. And I guess to the audience, the reason I bring it up is Xara and I have been playing a lot of Digital Combat Simulator, and that's a beast of a program that you can find on Steam or on their website. But it's we've been getting in a whole lot into the aircraft and jet memes. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, the two helicopter features that I really find interesting are the the double rotors on top of each other, and the other one is the fenestral tail, the one that's like where it's like completely enclosed. Those are very quiet, and it's wild to me.
Yeah. I think that tail, for some reason, I remember a lot of French designed helicopters have that, and I think
I know Japan's Recon helicopter has that as well, simply because it's so quiet that you can't even hear it coming.
Yeah. All right. We're circling up to DMJ. As many may or may not know, DMJ is very hardcore into Star Citizen. I'm going to ask him. I'm altering my question a little bit to be more interesting. What is your favorite ship in Star Citizen, and how do you feel about the progress of the project? I'm going to call it the project in general.
Okay, favorite ship in Star Citizen is easy.
Yeah.
It is the Robert Space Industries Perseus. I have yet to see the Scorpius yet. That might be my second favorite. I want to see it, like a little bit more about it. But the Perseus, it's not out yet. But man, do I love its like pointed Death Star look with two gigantic four size 7 cannons on it that are just. Ooh, that's going to be so good during fleet action. Oh, that's going to be so fun with a nice crew of 7 with, just laying ballistic slugs everywhere. Now for the progress. Yes, it's slow. But I personally believe, and this is something I think a lot of people are a little, how would I put this?
It's a mixed bag.
I'm more talking about like the general video game space. People are very accustomed to their 6-year, get this game out, let me have it on the table. I want it in my hands, gimme kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the publishers really want. And I personally believe Star Citizen's going to break this. It's going to take time because yes, there is no publishers, and yes, there was feature creep very early on. But I really want to see Star Citizen be at the most perfect it can be as it comes out, take as much time as it needs, because I want it to absolutely, positively devastate the publisher market out there and make them actually think twice about releasing a half-baked game or something that just isn't quite up to snuff. And I really want it to also kill those like yearly release games, because I really cannot stand like a Call of Duty every year.
For
FIFA every year.
Call of Duty's been what, like 16, 17 years straight or something? 2003.
Yes, and it's 3 studios and it's killing them, and I hate it.
All right, yeah. Well, it's I just want to bring it just because it is a fun little question, and it's to help sort of know the crew a bit better. All right, I have a meme question for Lunar. When's the Alien Isolation stream? Been waiting for it for like a year.
Actually, you ended up buying this game for me, didn't you?
I did.
Yes.
I think I accepted it.
I think I accept
I
Only
can
because
see the listener
I was-
count jumping.
No, I was legitimately like, I remember getting this, and it sat on my screen for almost a week because I didn't know if I wanted to actually accept the game or not. Because I knew,
not into
and I-
spooky game.
and well, right. And I told Nano this. I told Nano this ahead of time, and he's like, "Well, I'm going to give you the game anyway." So it's just sitting on my screen. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I can double check now, but I'm pretty sure it's in my Steam
yeah.
library now.
If
Guys,
it's
makes
not
the stream
play,
a
how
little
about
more
how about this? How about this? If Lunar doesn't play it the next year, Lunar will have to play it in VR next. Because you could play Alien Isolation in VR.
I think the VR was sort of like tacked on though, because it wasn't part of the original dev cycle.
Yeah, but there is a mod for it that makes
Yeah.
it pretty much almost seamless, and it's terrifying.
I don't really want to.
That's what makes it fun.
Hey, I didn't either until I beat it.
I don't want to. That's like my favorite way. I don't want to.
when will I stream it? Like
Yeah.
I maybe I actually don't know. But in terms of like actually finishing the game, probably never.
At like a 7 p.m. tonight is is that what I'm
No,
hearing here?
Nano. I have things I need to do. I'm sorry. It's not. It's
8 p.m.
it's
So
just-
I'm forgiving. Like that's
Oh my
that's
gosh.
fine.
Tune in to
We can
Twitch
be
later.
flexible here.
People are-
8:30.
people are
8:30,
already-
no problem.
People are already giving me flack for not having played DDLC, even though it's been out for like 5 years.
Hey, even the paid version just came out. So
Well,
Plus version with 8 extra side stories.
anyway, that's I don't really know, but thanks for the question, Nano.
oh, you're very welcome. 8:30, right? Pacific time? Yeah, not a problem. Oh, it's already we're cruising through our timeline here.
Mhm. We're that said, we're probably gonna go over the hour again, but
Oh yeah, but
if you've got time, stick with us. We'll still accept your questions after the staff questions section here.
Yeah, I'm just debating if we want to pass it on and then circle back to some questions, depending on our time frame here. Just want to make sure we get to everybody in the hour. All right, well, I'll hand back to DMJ, and I'll circle back to my questions as needed.
all right. So we're gonna get to my questions. Let's see. Let's start with Lunar. Let's go with Lunar. Let's do. How do you get into Touhou?
This is one of those questions I was actually assuming, maybe we would get from our audience, but why me? Why me specifically? How did I get into Touhou? So it was a combination of having discovered a set of music from, what was that website, like Nico Doga or something, except I had no idea what the website was, but there was like a subset of like fan remixes or something based on a bunch of the like more popular or meme music that came from that. And lo and behold, to not a big surprise to anyone who really knows how meme Touhou music can get, but there's a lot of Touhou music in a lot of those remixes. And at the time, I didn't really know or understand what the music was. So after I learned more about, through other means, and I'll get to that in a second, I recognized the music afterwards, and I said, okay, well, now I know where it comes from, and it's kind of neat going back and recognizing some of those tunes from the series. But in terms of like how I really started, I guess one of the main things that I keep hearkening back to whenever I get this question is that I had a friend who told me about a character model mod for Team Fortress 2 called Touhou Fortress 2. And at the time it was in development, so they only had like maybe 4 or 5 or 6 of the characters out of the 9 in Team Fortress 2. But it was just like, at the time it was like, lol, it's like some sort of anime model mod or whatever the heck. It just kind of looked cartoony and fun. But then, of course, again, afterwards it kind of learned, well, these are characters, and I even remember having difficulty like remembering what their names were or anything, because like for anyone who doesn't know, Touhou Project had one of the most prolific things about it is the number of characters in the game. Anyway, just kind of went from there, but that's where it started. So
All right, and kind of keeping up on this tradition of meme questions for Lunar. Halo is a very cool dude who doesn't afraid of anything. Infinite is coming up. When are you gonna suit up, soldier? I gifted you that copy of MCC Collection. You got all the games now.
You did. Look, I mean, it's actually for a similar reason that, like, I mean, not similar. I shouldn't say similar because Alien Isolation has its own set of challenges, but
Yeah.
but Halo
It runs
is
well on modern systems.
Halo is a classic series recognized by many people out there, and I think some people will be saddened to hear that I've never actually played Halo, and I know DMJ is one of those people. But in terms of, like, it's just one of those things where I just, aside from a couple of things that I just kind of sort of play off the cuff, I don't really sit down and play video games or like play through a series the way that I used to, because I'm, especially recently as I'm trying to work on getting some core systems running for the station. It's just like I don't give myself the time. It's not that I don't have time. It's not that I can't make time. I just don't set aside the time to do it. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, is just that, like, personally, I'm focused on other things.
Gotcha.
So it sounds like we're adding it to the checklist after Alien Isolation to just power through, right?
Power through the Halo series, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
In short, ask me again in like 2 years.
Gotcha. All right, let's get to Nano here. How'd you get into coding? I'm very interested to know, like, your coding history.
How did I? And mind you, it's actually been a while since I've done actual real coding, because my job's been more project focused than it is
Crisis
dev focused. Yeah, crisis management. Well, I mean, it used to have a fair bit of a lot more tech stuff, but then as things progress, you tend to start doing more project and delegation. I guess that's a good question. It just, I kind of took a class and then I just kind of kept doing things, and the mental logic, the pseudocode, if you will, the very, like, step-by-step breaking down of things, which like, if you ever done, like, say training or, like, information manuals where you have to, like, do step-by-step things of how to teach someone how to do something, that kind of logic applies. The iterative, I don't know, not iterative, there's a word I just not on my tongue right now, type of logic was easy to apply when doing coding. And sure, there was some mental trip ups with, like, knowing how to do memory management and stuff, but the core of it is, I mean, I just kind of took a class, and after I got through some of the teething phase, it just made a bunch of sense, and I was able to just kind of put little projects on and say, hey, you know, I know how to do this in theory, then I should be able to break down, like, this end goal objective into very easy bite-sized steps that feed into each other. Let's see if I can do it. And it was kind of like a challenge or an exploration type mindset, I guess, for that, saying, hey, I can, if my end goal is here, my starting position is here, can I get from point A to point B? And it was fun piecing together the steps needed to get from there, from A to B.
Ooh. See, my mine was, I took a couple courses. I was, like, super into it, and then I got into college and they made it not fun.
To do that.
How'd you settle on the name Nano Satellite?
That's a good question. I don't remember. I don't remember the specifics. I do remember I was making a name when I was playing Knights of the Old Republic, and I was messing around with, like, the auto name generator, and then I started, like, I found something that was good and I started tweaking it. And eventually that's Nano's been, like, the big thing that just kind of stays, and I then add different celestial objects to the end of it for various moods. I don't know. It's a very, very lackluster, nothing was really epiphany. I just kept it.
Interesting.
You play with the cards that you're dealt, and that's it.
All right, so Xara,
Yes.
how much Alice stuff do you have, and where'd you get it?
Surprisingly, not a lot, actually. I don't need to have Alice stuff. I am the Alice boy. Okay. But really, the little doll here and there, Some merch here and there, maybe a few books, but it's nothing too impressive. I don't have like an entire shrine, you know.
I
But
know.
everything I have, I either got during our Japan trip or I had it proxied beforehand.
Well, I know the proxy game pretty well.
Oh, the
And,
proxy game's fun.
Proxy game's fun, unless it's COVID, and then you had to wait a year before it could ship out. What's your favorite circle?
That's hard to say because I have such a music library, humble brag. I kind of just listen to everything, and for every single like genre, there's like it's hard to compare. It's hard to say like one group or circle or band specifically, simply because they're also like they all occupy different like niches, and it's like I have favorites for each niche, but not like a favorite overall.
It's like picking children.
I know. It's like each one of the genres is like one of your children.
It is. It's so hard. It's like I sit here and I pull my hair. It's like, what would be my top one if I'm asked?
Iron Attack, probably.
Iron Attack, really? Really interesting. Because like
I've been warming up to them slowly, simply because there's so much complexity, there's so much like depth to the guitar work.
Yeah, and it's so strange with Iron Attack because you're just sitting there like, oh well, they're just like a circle. Like at first, when I first discovered it, I was like, oh well, they're just a circle that kind of like takes old classic heavy metal songs and mix Touhou into it. And then like the more you go through the discography, I'm like, I could groove to this.
I've also been slowly mapping all of the entirety of Iron Attack onto Clone Hero. Don't at me.
Oh God. How are you okay?
No,
are you okay?
I'm not like doing it in all one run. It's just like every once in a while someone's like, make another song. I'm like, okay.
Have you been putting them up on chorus?
I don't have anything on chorus because I'm not prolific enough. I don't do anything regularly. Don't they want like 10 in a row or something?
Hold on. I actually think that changed as of recently. You can actually like do whatever.
All right. Look into it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pass now the questions off to Xara.
Oh. Okay, what do I got? Okay, DMJ. Since you haven't existed forever, when are you gonna have time to go to round one with me now that I actually live near you?
When things quiet down in my life right now. Like, if you have not watched how volatile the automotive market is right now, my life is going from working overtime to working none of the time, and we're literally on week-to-week basis on which one is which.
How's the life of inserting an ECU into a brand new car off of the factory, a truck, driving it to a stadium, and then ripping the ECU out and leaving it there?
People who don't know this, that is something that's happened. There's a NASCAR racetrack that recently was bought by Amazon to use to park all their trucks. We filled up not only the track, not only the parking lots, but also the inner grass with our trucks, with how many we're missing. It's all over news. You can go Google Ford Super Duty Speedway. And
basically there's a chip shortage, so they can't make ECUs.
We can't make ECUs, and it's so bad. And then they're expecting a launch like next month.
Yeah, remember this. So, guys, the chip shortage, right? Like, I'm sure a lot of you out there are familiar. If you've been, tried to get computer components or GPUs or whatever, like that's heavily affecting the automobile industry as well.
It's so bad.
Yeah, cars are very digitized nowadays.
Yeah.
If you've seen the new F-150 Lightning, like that's basically just a driving computer. It's crazy.
But yeah, also, who makes the best Touhou Jazz?
Okay, Touhou Jazz. Okay, hold on one second, because I actually have. I physically have CDs here, which is. Let me pull mine out. Where is my other one? I had two, and they disappeared. I will always go on and say Felt makes some good jazz from time to time. Mm-hmm. But the ones that I have been kind of on about, and I don't remember the names. I have their CDs here. but it's the ones that we got that featured the Boston School of Music.
Yeah, and
Like those are solid albums even now. I have two of them right now. I have Scarlet Daydreams and Sunflower Nocturna.
good. I actually met them through Freezy X, who did the art for all of them.
Yes, and what's really interesting is Sunflower Nocturna's album cover, and I'm holding it in my hand right now. Is actually isn't that A Train?
Ooh, he does do all the train lines.
He used the train line in that one, and then he also used the skyline on the background.
What am I thinking of?
I want to say it's A line or Green Line.
Probably is Green Line. I know he did a Green Line one, and I know he did an Orange Line one.
But yeah, they are pretty solid. Oh, there's just a lot. The other day I heard Touhou Jazz from Get in the Ring.
Yeah.
And that was surprising because I was like, wait, Get in the Ring does jazz? All I remember them doing was Jet. What is going on here? So
they have a good bass player, so it happens time to time.
All metal artists have a very good bass player. You just can't hear them because they turn the guitar straight out.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so they make some of the best Touhou Jazz. Get in the Ring made some good. There's a lot. Like, just go listen to the station. There is a lot, and it's actually. I've been spending almost the past 3 weeks because I'm working on my Touhou Shadowrun campaign. I've been just kind of putting the station on in the background to get just my brain juices going, and it blew my mind how much Touhou Jazz plays.
You're welcome.
But from artists that you don't imagine,
you don't expect
jazz.
It,
yeah, you don't expect Touhou Jazz from.
Oh, who was it? Unlucky Morpheus. They had a whole heavy metal jazz thing going.
Yeah, what was that?
They did a Miles Davis cover. It was great.
And then you turn around and then Unlucky Morpheus then released two of that heaviest freaking all Japanese original metal stuff, and it's super popular on Clone Hero, and it's what is going on here?
Yeah, there you go. All right, Nano, we know you're a great Star Wars fan. What's the best Star Wars game?
Oh man, I can give so many answers that I enjoy, but will put me on some sort of hit list.
Oh no!
Oh boy, let's go through a couple of lists here. Let's at least get some notable mentions of some not really well-known Star Wars game. Let me bring up Star Wars. I'm searching as I speak to make sure I I remember the names of Star Wars Gungan Frontier.
Oh no!
That one was a really cool eco game where you go to a planet and you have to bring up plants, and then herbivores eat the plants and carnivores eat the herbivores, and you had to
Tokyo Jungle basically.
You had to in a sense you had to make it you had to make it sustainable for the Gungans that were moving in, and then you have a small city building part where you had to build the infrastructure. It was something. It was interesting. I remember growing up, so that's why I have fond memories. A lot of these things I'm going to say, they're going to be fond memory games that I haven't touched in probably 15 to 20 years.
X-Wing TIE Fighter.
Those are actually legitimately good games.
X-Wing, TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, X-Wing Alliance. Those are cool games. I have a special fondness in my heart for Galactic Battlegrounds, Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds, and Expansion Code Campaign. So this was a game made by the Age of Empires 2 guy. He wanted to make a Star Wars game, and he used the Age of Empires 2 engine to do it. And so each faction has their entirely different, unique sprite palettes, which is kind of refreshing if you come from Age of Empires 2, where in Age of Empires 2 it was very if you were from Europe, this is your building tile set. Every unit or every faction had their own independent sprited unit, so it was kind of cool. It had some quirkiness to it just because the game didn't really have a way to support air units in an intuitive way, so spaceships just kind of hovered in place as a unit. But I have very fond memories of going through the stories, going through the mission creator in Galactic Battlegrounds. It's an early 2000s game. If I'm going to take a step back and think of more recent titles, Jedi Fallen Order is a cool game. Battlefront 2, EA's one, I know it had a terrible launch, and there's a lot of people still kind of drive on it, but it's a legitimately Star Wars feeling FPS. I want to say there's a very, very Star Wars feeling game, and they nail the feel that you're playing a Star Wars battle pretty
It's
well.
good. It's a nice casual arcade game.
Yeah, it works very well for that. There's I feel like there's an entire decade and a half between what I just said and the one I said prior.
Yeah.
Republic Commando.
Republic Commando is I remember having fun with it when I was younger. It was cool and I have nostalgic memories for it. I have a gut feeling that I'm going to play and everything is going to be super bullet spongy, because I remember in the game that I just used a knife for everything. Because the game's pace, it's the old 2000s era pacing of games where things were lengthened by just making everything artificially longer to do. But its themes had a really cool theme. Its most of its set pieces are really, really cool. Just the gameplay kind of, I don't think this is me not playing it since then. It probably doesn't hold up as well as I imagined it did, but I'm going to keep my rose-tinted goggles with it and think about it that way.
Well, what's really interesting is they just recently kind of pseudo recanonized all those characters.
Yeah, they had a remaster on Switch or something like that, I recall.
Well, not only the remaster, they brought the characters' radio chatter back into Bad Batch, as in Disney proper.
Yeah, they were also in the Clone Wars too, the actual series.
I haven't gotten that deep into it. Maybe I need to watch it.
It's very brief. I don't even remember what season it is. It is a cameo because at the beginning the 4 clone commandos, Boss, Sev, Fixer, and okay, my memory's dying. All 4 of them come up and they briefly they briefly talk and then they just leave screen. So all it is just a cameo that sort of canonizes them. As to what they do, canon, I don't think there's anything here or there for that, but they exist. So that's cool. I'm trying to think of other cool Star Wars games. I gave a lot, but yeah, that's what I got.
Entire collection.
Forces and then the Jedi Knight series forward is that Kyle kind of just becomes it's one of those characters that he's fun, but he's just kind of too perfect.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I like them better in the older games, but that's just my taste on things. They're still fun games to play.
There you go. Nano's feeling on Star Wars. Lunar.
Yes.
What is the best Japanese novelty drink? There are 2 or 3 correct answers. Go.
I feel like you're asking me this question because of our experience in Japan, and I had a couple of choice drinks. So I think most people, when they think of a Japanese novelty drink, will instantly think ramune, and they think that because it's got a uniquely shaped bottle, it's got the sort of the glass marble in the bottleneck itself. But
It's also the first Japanese novelty drink to really get over here, so it's got that positioning thing on it.
right, but Xara is expecting me to say a couple different things, and he's not wrong. So the soda that I really kind of enjoyed when I was in Japan that you can't get in the States is melon soda. And I forget exactly what brand makes the one I'm interested in, but I don't know. I don't think it's Suntory.
If that kind of sugary melon pond melon soda flavor is what you want, I have found that Red Bull, the watermelon Red Bull, actually kind of invokes that flavor a little bit.
Okay, duly noted.
They are an Asian drink.
And then, but the other one, which isn't really a novelty drink, it's just their marketing is kind of funny, is the Suntory Rainbow Mountain Coffee.
Yeah, Boss Coffee.
Yeah, because the Suntory boss is the boss of them all. Don't you know?
Obviously. Boss Coffee is good, actually. I don't like coffee at all. Probably crucified for saying this, but Boss Coffee is really good for someone who does not like coffee at all.
Yeah. And it's also probably the reason. Yeah, I won't get into that, but no, it is good. It is good. All right, do you have anything else, or I think that wraps it up?
That might be it. I'm trying to think of what I was drinking in Japan. Yeah, it was the Suntory. I think it was Suntory. It was this strong. It's a strong, hard citrus soda. They had lemon versions, they had orange versions, but it was just this really nice natural citrus soda with with like actual lemons and oranges, but it was also 9% alcoholic. Fun times.
Yeah, it is a Suntory drink. It's just,
Yeah.
I think it's just called strong. Well, they're strong, and then because that's 9%, and then there's the not, the lesser ones is 5%.
Strong Zero or something like that.
I think that might just be diet or something.
Okay.
Anyway,
But that's a fun drink.
yeah. Well,
If
yeah.
you ever go to a convenience in Japan, oh, it was a fun time.
I mean, if you're of age, of course. Anyway, so that about wraps it up for the staff to staff stuff. So at this point in time, if you in the audience, dear listener, have a question, we would be happy to get some raised hands here. We'll accept some questions. A reminder to folks that we are only accepting questions from those who have verified, so those who have the member role. If you don't have the member role, you will need to go through the verification process, which is detailed in the welcome channel. It's basically our bot will ask you 3 questions, just do the best you can. Our mod team will pick it up, and then you'll get the role after that, and you'll be able to ask a question. So I'll go ahead and open that up because I'm not actually sure if I need someone actually to let's just test this out. If you have the member role, raise your hand so that I can see that it is actually working. Because I don't know if this is new since the last stage event we did, but I have this allow requests from everyone toggle thing. And I don't know if I need to set up like a separate role or something for that. That'd be interesting. I remember checking for something like this in between, but it doesn't look like anyone is able to, so we'll go ahead and just toggle that back. All right, so there is one, but you're not yet a member, so please go through the verification process. Also, as a fair disclaimer to those of you who are asking questions, these are recorded. You might have sort of gathered that from the stage event that we have available on our website. If you missed our first stage event, you can go to gensokyoradio.net and click on the shows tab at the top of the screen. You'll find us there. So yes, if you ask a question, please just do be aware that you will be recorded. Let's see. All right, so someone had a question and then they lost interest. That's fair. All right, well, if no one... I'm seeing people pop up, but no one's got roles, or the member role. So yeah, if you wanna ask a question, you're gonna need that role. So I know we're a little bit over time, but in the interest of giving folks a chance to ask or come up with a question if they have anything, there's a couple of stories that we alluded to. One is the stuck in the elevator story. You hear of this happening to folks, but is it like, what are the chances of it actually happening to you? They're actually really, really low. But it happened to a couple of our staff team, and the way it started is DMJ was going to go back up to, so this is at a convention. DMJ had to go grab something from his hotel room. We were in the arcade at the time, at the setup I mentioned earlier, and DMJ had to go grab something, and Xara was with me, and I think for some reason you needed to like go up there and help him out with something or whatever. Bring something
He had
down.
the key. I didn't have the key.
Okay, so Xara had the key, so we had to go up there. And I think Xara didn't have his key, so I had to give him my key. And I said, so I'm going to give you the key, but I need to ask you something. Do you want to be a staff member? And that's how Xara became a staff member. So a little bit of history there. So then Xara says, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. Basically, that's how he phrased it. I need
to help him. Just give me the key.
Yeah, just so I give him the key and he's off. So he goes to meet DMJ at the hotel room door. They go grab whatever they needed to grab, and then they're on their way back down. And you guys can take it from here.
Oh boy. So to preface, we show up. I have full tack gear on because I was just wearing my airsoft gear, and Xara, you were doing your Alice.
I'm
right?
Alice. I am Alice.
Yeah. So we get in the elevator and we're going down. There was another woman who was right next to us, and she was with the hotel. So she was coming down, and she gets off at her floor, and then door closes. And it doesn't move. And we're just like, uh-oh, that's not good. We're trying to open the door.
The little fancy little like LED display near with the floor number on it. It goes, oh, this elevator is taken out of service.
Yeah, this elevator is out of service. And we're sitting there like, uh-oh, this is definitely not good. So, of course,
I don't know, people are like, that's scary, but nah, it was funny. We were having a good time.
It was like good comedic timing. So we hit the call button to go down to the thing, and we're like, hey, so elevator's out of service. And they're just like, okay, well, we'll bring somebody up there soon. 10 minutes go by, 20 minutes go by,
And
then
they're just in a dead, unmoving box. It's not going anywhere.
it's not moving. So then fire department shows up.
Yep.
And I can't remember, what did the fire department say?
I think they just gave us instructions for for helping them pull the door open.
So we get out and they see the site.
Yeah, it's because, remember, this is a convention, so and they're both dressed as something.
And they're just like, cool costumes. And we go on our merry way.
But what you're not explaining is the sort of the difference, the stark contrast between you guys. DMJ is dressed up in like what looks to be full airsoft camo gear, and Xara's basically tactical. Okay, sure. And Xara is effectively cosplaying a character, but that character also wears a dress. So, you know.
I'm in a very frilly dress, and he's full tack gear, ready for war.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
We did combine those at some point.
we did.
Gosh, cool.
Yeah,
and you guys survived, but it was just interesting. I was like, really? They had to call the Boston Fire Department down to rescue them out of the elevator.
The first time the fire department ever sees me, it's in a dress.
That's funny. All right.
Yes, TKTS says, ask a question on the voice chat. He says to Nano, what are your thoughts on visual scripting? How long have you been programming, and do you have any tips for releasing apps? Do you even work with apps, Nano?
Let me go up to, is this in general?
It's in the voice.
Oh, 1 second. Let me pop it so I can actually go through them one by one. Let me find there it is. Cool.
Yeah.
Going down.
I guess for members, yes, that is an option, but I really encourage folks to raise their hand to ask a question because this is an audio format. For those of you who really, really just don't have a microphone or don't want to use it, I guess there is the voice channel, but if you're able to and you're comfortable, we encourage folks to raise their hand to ask their questions.
Cool. To go into the question, my thoughts on visual scripting, and visual scripting is, I'm going to assume, or my experience of visual scripting is kind of like, say, the like Unreal engine, where like you piece things together, and it will in a visual format as opposed to like a keyboard typing format. You can piece together logic, like input, output, what happens next, etc., in a visual medium. It's very good for people who are more visual learning. Like, I think one of the obstacles if you want to get into programming is that if you're a very hardcore visual learner, like that's just how you operate, that's probably a very easy door to open to get into it. There are probably some limitations because I don't have a whole lot of experience with it. I just know it conceptually. But at the very least, I mean, there's people who make games entirely on visual programming and like game engines, for example. So like it's doable, and you might need to then, after you get through that phase, like if you want to fine tune or put in more nuanced logic, you might need to break that down a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, it does what it does, and it's another avenue for it. Programming since probably 2012, 2013, 2014, maybe a little earlier. It's not something that I have done in recent time because I've gone more into the project management stuff. Tips for releasing apps. I don't think I've ever released into any, like when I think of apps, I think of like, say, a Google Play Store or the Windows or Apple Store, like through those sort of marketplaces. In terms of just like releasing programs, like say something you're going to release like source code on like GitHub, documentation is good. And any sort of notes that might be convenient for someone else to troubleshoot if they want to adapt your program to do other things. But I don't really have anything easy for if you can release like an app to a marketplace that I can voice because I don't have experience in that. I don't know if I worked with XR, but sorry, go on there.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to mention if anyone is, if you want to know about just apps in general, like Nano was saying, the Google Play Store, Gensokyo Radio does have an app over there, and I basically almost exclusively developed it, so that question could be directed to me. And just in terms of releasing it, it took us a number of months, several build iterations. We had a test group, and I think Google, like the Google Play console, allows you to set up sort of a test version and open that up to specific people only, so that they can test it out ahead of everyone else. They can give you feedback and all that stuff. There's even a system for giving feedback to the developer in their own little area. So that was helpful. You know, we also have like our Patreon supporters and folks who did have early access to that, and they were able to contact me in other ways. But just like if you're only developing an app on that platform, there's a way to do it just on platform, and feedback is invaluable. Like, it's one thing that you can't forget about is, you know, if you're going to develop something like that, you got to test it. And especially if it's an Android app, you got to try to test it on as many different devices out there as you can, because one thing that Android's notorious for is its fragmentation on devices, and all the different little tweaks and things that happen to the operating system for those devices means that applications will behave slightly differently on different devices, which is also the number one reason why it's just incredibly difficult to do. So,
well, for Android specifically, because it blankets such a wide market. Like, how do you deal with programming for different devices?
Right. So, I mean, in terms of Android, the device differences aren't that big. In general, they're going to be cross-compatible because it's all Android, right? In theory, you're working against a couple different things. You've got your devices and your fragmentation of the operating system and its own tweaks that the device manufacturers will publish for their own devices. But then you also have the different versions of Android. Like, so for example, our Gensokyo Radio mobile app for Android is compatible with the Android versions all the way down to 5. And I forget what candy that's named after, but
oh gosh.
But you know, like for those of you who use Android, you'll know that we're up to like what, 10 or 11 or something. I forget exactly, but it's up there. So like it covers a wide range of versions, but then you have your devices, and then you have the same devices that can run different versions, and so the permutations are literally in the thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not more than that. So it's impossible to test for everything. So the way that I deal with it is I test on really the most popular devices as recommended by Google or as seen by their numbers. You know, some of their devices, some of like Samsung's devices, because those are popular, and maybe a couple of other oddballs that maybe are not as common, just to see how they perform on there. And it's, you know, we still get crash reports and people telling us that stuff doesn't work on their device. And it's just like, well, we're doing the best we can, but there's only so much we can do. And that goes for basically every app developer that doesn't have, you know, their own like wide set of test devices. There are services out there to help with that. We use, what is it, like Firebase or something that Google offers. They have a free tier, but yeah, you can only do so much. So,
by the way,
go ahead.
Android 5 is codenamed Android Lollipop.
There you go.
Well, there you go. Cool.
But yeah, in general, I wouldn't worry about it too much if you're trying to be a designer or you're trying to be a developer, because it's a very technical field. And what I find is that with pretty much all of the highly technical professions is that the really good ones don't stay there very long. They become team leaders and managers. Nano.
Yeah, even in, you know, when I worked at my IT job, you know, I did QA stuff, but eventually like the career path for that is that you become a consultant, or like you can become a project manager eventually, you know, stuff like that. So eventually you move away from sort of the, you know, being in the trenches of coding and such to being more of sort of this thought leader, someone who actually directs the way that the project runs, or make sure that you have the resources you need, or all the sort of higher level stuff. So we do have someone who has a question who also has the member role. So thank you for doing that. BunnyVibing, we will go ahead and invite you to speak. come on up. Hello.
Well, I'm actually accidentally clicked the button, so well.
Aw. Well, do you have it? Do you have anything that you might want to ask?
Quick fire, ask a question now.
Well, I'm an Asian, so I'm not very good at English. I'm sorry about any grammar mistakes. So, what then? Who are your favorite Touhou characters then?
Favorite Touhou characters. Okay. Someone else go first, please.
Well, you already know me. I literally was an Alice.
Alice is one of my favorites. I would say second favorite would be Marissa. Third would be Yomu.
Now I have to pick something that isn't cool. Tenchi. Fighting game.
You could always say Lunar if you don't know. You could just say the one with the hat.
Yeah, or the one without the hat to make it even more ominous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, I've sort of cornered myself with this question already because in the past, a lot of times I'll say I don't really have a favorite character, but I don't know, and that's still true. But I do have some, artwork and stuff that I've bought. I like, for example, the PO box for a radio station has a keychain, and that happens to be Ramo. So, not very exciting, I know, but there's your answer.
No, thanks.
All right, thanks for joining us.
We do have a member who actually asked over in text chat a question. This is Hyou or Hyou, Hyou. What is your favorite Touhou track, either from the game or from a music album?
That's even harder than picking like a favorite
Do
band. Is
you
picking
know
one
how
specific
little
song.
that narrows it down?
Yeah.
Insert Batman Beyond meme.
So what you're saying is you can't miss.
Basically, just scattershot it.
Oh gosh. Oh, Touhou track.
Here's the problem. There are literally over 50,000 fan-created tracks. But if you're talking about just original tracks from the games, that does narrow it down.
Okay.
And I also wouldn't be able to tell you because I don't really know necessarily the names of the original tracks. I deal a lot with the fan arrangements, and that's about it.
Okay.
All right, so it's Lunar Dial. Next question.
Okay. So I'm gonna say hands down the one that actually gets me, and if we're talking official tracks, Night Soccer of the Dead Spirits, stage 1 of Touhou 13. Not only does it slap, it's probably one of the best opening tracks across all of Touhou when it comes to stage 1. It opens up a really nice vibe. It feels perfect for the stage that you're going through, and it really works well with the bosses that you're fighting. I mean, you're going through that first stage, you're gonna be like, hey, something's going on. I gotta go talk to Yuyuko and figure out what's going on. It's so ethereal, and it's just got this movement. And then every time I hear that song remixed, it just is so good. I've never heard a bad mix of that song. It always is good. I love that song. Now, if you're talking the whole of Touhou music, well, I can only limit it down to one album because I love these ideas of unskippable albums, and my favorite album is always going to be and forever will be Foreground Eclipse and Draw the Emotionals.
Yeah,
Seated with Liquor. Seated with Liquor. It's just it hits hard. If you're not into harsh vocals, you won't encounter them much. I mean, they are there, but they won't encounter them much.
The thing with Foreground Eclipse is that Metami's vocals are very, very powerful and very strong, but they're not grating. The thing that turns most people off is the screaming.
It's kind of like the vocalist for maybe Paramore. How would I describe Merimi's vocals when it comes to in the realm of Touhou music? That's where it fits. That Paramore kind of I'm gonna hit hard, but I'm not gonna be that harsh vocal. I'm gonna be emotional, but I'm not going to be make you like a sob story. I'm just going to make you feel.
Right,
And
and
that's
probably
where it is.
it's probably the main reason why Foreground Eclipse is loved as much as it is that Teto's like background instrumental supports her very well. Like he does a good job of playing the support role. As opposed, it's something that I didn't notice until I started listening to Merami inside of Daejeon RD Sounds. Is within the Circle RD Sounds, Daejeon has a very powerful like instrumental style, and Merami's power vocals clashes with it frequently.
Oh, dude, it's wild how good that album is. Like, that album came out in 2012, and I think it will go, like, I already said it was my album of the decade last time it came through. I still think it holds up this decade. It just is that good. I'm yet to find a Touhou album that can blow that one out of the water. Like, they come close, but they never quite get there. There's always something missing that just cannot touch Seated with Liquors like
Drought the Emotional and Foreground Eclipse was one of those combinations that's kind of rare, and it may not happen ever again.
Oh, Yubei still makes stuff. Was it Draw? I think his newest album is Draw. He's gone back to vocal bit though.
Yeah, and I personally think that, and it's just me, but like, just what that was lightning in a bottle, and you can't recapture that album again. Like, you just can't. Like, I would say, like, the closest anybody has ever come to getting to Foreground Eclipse level was like a regular band that I listened to, and that was Periphery, and they still like don't hit that level. Like, and Periphery's good. Like, I love Periphery. I love Spencer Saleto's vocals. I love Misha Mansour on guitar. But man, dude, I just like, for some reason that album just slaps. There's only a couple unskippable albums, and all four of them are Gorillaz albums. but the one that's on top is always going to be Foreground Eclipse, Drought the Emotional for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. We're gonna do one. I think probably one last thing here. Just one last chance for folks who had any questions that didn't get them in. I know some folks have been asking, how do they get the member role? If you are new to the server and you're looking to ask a question, read the welcome channel. All the information you need is in there. It's honestly quite incredible how many folks just don't read the welcome channel. So if you want to join, there is a command you need to type in. You need to answer 3 questions that our bot will ask you afterwards, and then one of our mods will get to you afterwards. And if you do well enough, I guess, just do the best you can. Hopefully you'll get in, you'll be able to ask your questions that way, because we're only accepting questions from those folks who have the member role. Alrighty, so that said, there's one last story I wanted to talk about before we kind of wrap things up here. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. We'll get to them after this if there are any. But I wanted to talk about some of the pranks that we've pulled on DMJ, because everyone here at some point has been involved with messing around with DMJ, and some of the moments have just been like absolutely off the wall. Some of them have required a lot of work and planning, and others have been like, there's this here, we could do something. So yeah. I don't know what DMJ thinks of this, but
how much granola?
Granola was not even part of it. I mean, kind of, because I did make him sign a granola bar, but Nature Valley granola bar, but there's a couple of key things. Let's see here. So there's the first one, and I don't know if Nano remembers this. Like, I kind of hope he does, but remember when? So this would have been at Boston in the year that you were there, and one of the folks from Komeiji Records, DJ Kuishi, was also with us. Now they had a particular garb that we decided, well, it'd be funny to don this garb and then like just greet people as they came back into the hotel room. It was basically 2 parts of a maid outfit, and this is something that I don't think we've not really talked about this, right? So if you're still with us, I guess bonus for you. But it was like it had 2 pieces to it, right? It had the dress part, and then it had like the white like apron part, I guess. And so I ended up wearing the dress part, and Nano ends up wearing the apron part, which isn't really a full dress. It's it's awkward. But we're just messing around. So like, DG Kuishi comes into the room and I open the door and we just like, we throw people for a loop, right? And we did this with...
I'm confused and blind.
We did, yeah. Well, we haven't even gotten to the part where DMJ comes in because it's like everyone else has come in the room. We've said hi to them. It's, it was fun because we surprised them or whatever. But then DMJ and his friend Zach come in because they were out at a bar or something, I guess. And they're coming back. And so you're a little bit inebriated, DMJ is. And he comes in and we planned this out where Nano greets him, but then I'm like hiding in the hotel room closet or whatever. And so Nano says hi, and then DMJ goes to sit down in a chair because he needs to sit down because he's just in that state, right? And then I come out to greet him, and then DMJ's reaction is like, oh my gosh, don't do this to me. Like, what are you doing?
It was a sensory overload. And then he turns around and makes me sign a granola bar, and I'm like, what?
Yep. That happened. The
Yeah,
other one. Oh, no, go ahead.
That one right there, that one was like, my body was just not ready.
No. The best part about this is I think we had like 2 or 3 different camera angles going. This footage has not been released, but we have it. It's one of those, yeah, it's out there. I mean, it's not out there. We have it, but it could be out there. It just isn't.
It could be. It might be.
Anyway, the other one that we did, and this was back in 2019. This one was a lot more fun and a lot more normal, I guess. But we mentioned last stage event that we ended up finding this random person online who got a photo with the creator of the Touhou Project series, Zune. And the reason why that caught our interest is because he was wearing one of our station's t-shirts. And
he's in a wonderful place now.
And then he ended up getting another photo, I think, again, with this dude wearing our t-shirt. And we were kind of like, I don't know why he's wearing our shirt, but we should like try to talk to this dude and see what's up. So we did, and we invited him on one of our live shows, our live programs, and I think that shows up on our website again. It's available as a podcast at this point in time. But we talked to him, his name is Nelson. We got acquainted with him. He was on, so I think he used to be on a military base in Japan, and then he ended up moving out to just a regular apartment in Japan. But he was there at the same time we went there in 2017, so we actually got to meet him for the first time in Japan. Now, fast forward a couple of years to 2019, a lot of things have happened. We're back here, we're doing our own thing. But Nelson has moved around a little bit. He actually had to go back to the States while we were still in Japan. So that was interesting timing. But we got to kind of hear the story behind that a little bit. And so he ends up moving to a few different places. I think he's originally from Puerto Rico, so he's over there. And then I think he ended up going to a couple different states, and eventually he ends up in New York somehow. The details I'm going to leave out, but he ends up in New York. And so I caught wind of this. I think he ended up reaching out to me on Discord at some point. And he was like, oh man, I see you guys are at that convention. It looks really fun. I wish I could be there. And I say, well, the way we have our hotel rooms laid out right now is there's only 4 of us, but we have 2 hotel rooms. So like we could fit in, if you wanted to join us, we have space. We can figure that out. There's double beds in both of our rooms. Like that's just plenty of space. We're not breaking any, fire code or anything because we legitimately have the space. So we say, okay, well, if you want to join us, you can join us. You can, bunk out in our room or whatever. And he's like, I don't want to bother you guys. And I'm like, dude, there's a convention going right now. Good luck finding a hotel room. So he was like, okay, fine. So he joins us. But we had to hatch this plan because he had to go from New York all the way up to Boston, and we had to figure out how to do this. And while I'm figuring out how to do this, I'm sitting in the arcade where, Xara and DMJ and all the other folks are, and, not to mention like 300 other people in this giant ballroom because it's our arcade, right? We're trying to figure out how to get him up here. And so he's like, okay, well, you could take the train, but that's too expensive. You could take the bus, but there's limited times for that. So he ends up hopping on a bus at like midnight or something. He ends up busing all the way up to Boston, and he gets to our hotel room at like 6 or 7 in the morning. Some some ridiculously early hour. And DMJ doesn't know any of this because we've hid it from him all this time. So we kind of hatch this plan. We say, okay, we're going to surprise DMJ. We got to figure this out. So Nelson and Xara and I are all in on this. DMJ has no idea. And we figure out that morning where DMJ is. He went out somewhere to grab like some donuts and coffee and stuff for him and his other roommate at the time. And I end up finding him. So I meet him at the elevator. And he comes out of the elevator and I say, all right, DMJ, we got to find a guest for the show because we were doing a live show that weekend as well on location in Boston. It was really fun. I say, DMJ, we need a guest. We need to figure this out. And he's like, okay, well, we could invite this person on or that person on. You're like, and I think at this point, DMJ is really just throwing out names of like Boston locals, the people that we know in the area that might be interesting for the show. And I say, okay, all right, DMJ, I think I've got an idea, but I need you to sign off on this. I want to know what your thoughts are on this. And he's like, okay. So I open the door and he looks and he's like, yeah, it's that one dude from Boston. And then Nelson starts talking and DMJ's look is like the look on his face is like, oh, you're not General Cool Man. You're not the other person that's local. Oh, okay. Hold on a moment. I got to deliver this food to my roommate or else I'm going to die. And then he runs off to the other room. And so that was his first encounter with Nelson, who I'm sure up to that point, he probably thought was still in Japan.
Yeah, I legitimately thought he was still in Japan.
Yeah. And this was great because we did this whole skit. We actually ended up publishing a video up. I'm going to double check and make sure that it's on our YouTube channel, but it might be somewhere else. I'm going to double check that. But we ended up making a video of that experience, and yes, it is on our YouTube channel. So if you go look up Gensokyo Radio on YouTube, it's called A Surprise Guest Hiding Nelson from DMJ at Anime Boston. So yeah, it was good. It was fun. It was a little bit more logistical than I think anyone would have ever sort of thought of doing, but it was very emergent. We didn't really plan that from the get-go. It just kind of happened. And I don't know why doing prank stuff on DMJ has become a thing. But I'm honestly worried about at some point in the future when that's gonna circle back and I'm gonna get pranked. I know it's gonna happen at some point.
I mean, we almost took over the entire show during the Anime Boston thing.
Yeah, well, we had a panel there as well one year, and they were freaking out about me not getting through the giant line when they forgot about the panelist entrance, or they just didn't know about it. I don't know which one, but I was like, yeah, guys, I wasn't worried about it. Like, it was easy. So.
Take over the show. That's all.
Yeah. It might have happened, but it didn't. It could have. Cool. So, last chance for any questions out there. I know we're running quite long on this from our initial hour, but there's a lot of good stuff that we wanted to talk about. This is like the Discord stage. There's a really unique opportunity to talk about some of this stuff that just wouldn't be suitable for one of our regular live shows. So, or maybe it would be, but we'd have like less time because we usually play music during those too. So this is much more of a podcast-y, voice-only kind of thing. And if you, again, just as a reminder, you do need the member role if you want to ask a question, and also these are being recorded. So if you have a question, just know that your voice will be recorded. And if you missed our first stage event, or if you missed a part of this one and you want to listen back to it, it will become available on our website at gensokyoradio.net, and we have it in podcast form. This one will be up about a week from now. Our first stage event is already up because we did that last month, and that's about it. So I'm not seeing any questions from members at this point, and I think that's where we're going to wrap it up. So thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. For our U.S. folks out there, happy 4th of July. It is United States Independence Day today.
America.
And
have a good one, everyone.
Yeah, have a good one. Stay safe out there. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next time. Till then.